The beginning of the matrix starts with miseducation. When we talk specifically about miseducation, we're going to be going over an outline, and we're going to be going over basically what we call preliminaries, or what we call establishing a foundation. Okay, the purpose of this presentation is to prepare the minds to understand the startling things we will find out in reference to ancient history, biblical history, versus his story. Now the question is, who is his story? They try to shorten it and call it history, but it's just his story. What we have been fed, what we believe, what we are willing to die for. We're willing to die for his story, period. Point 2 is to help us understand how health, the 9 pathways to health, how people of color fit into this picture, and how last day events play a vital role in awakening us from the deception we've been fed, which is his story. Is there hope for us in our present condition if we stay this way? Let's start looking at it. Okay, let's look at Thanksgiving. We're looking at history, okay? When we look at Thanksgiving, we want to compare that to the Bible, okay? What is the Bible? The Bible is a book. Written by whom? Written for whom? Written about whom? We can put this in different categories. Let's look at American history. Okay, we're looking at some history. Okay, we have 3 different categories for American history. We have the African slave trade, their viewpoint. You have the slave masters, their viewpoint. And then you have the Native American, their viewpoint. Okay, when we look at Thanksgiving, why do we celebrate Thanksgiving? We celebrate Thanksgiving because they were the pilgrims, quote unquote. The pilgrims were able to be taught by the natives how to live in this condition that they find themselves in America. Okay, so we celebrate that. But now, is that a celebration of thanks for what the Native Americans did for us, or is it something else? So when we look at a book, that's what we want to look back as the Bible. If we found a book in America, say 1,000 years old book, in somebody's backyard, whose book is it? Is it your book because it's on your land? Do you own that land? Or are you just a resident of that land? And it's owned by the state. It's owned by the country. It's owned by the government. Whose book is it? Is it the American government's, who says that they are the Americans? Or is it the true Native Americans who we now call, we massacred them, and we sent them to Canada, sent them to concentration camps called reservations, and we sent them to the south, down to Mexico. Now they're trying to get back in the true Native American. We call them what? Illegal aliens, when the people running this are the true illegal aliens. His story, again, not the true story. Who is going to get credit for the book? Who's going to display the book? In whose museum? Is it going to be a museum in the Native Americans, or is it going to be a museum in American history down in D.C.? Who will interpret the book? Who can interpret the book? Okay, we know it was 1,000 years old, so it was before any European came here. So if it was before the Europeans came here, then whose book is it? Who gets credit for the book? Obviously, that the nation will take over and they will get credit for the book. It's going to be called the United States book. They're going to display it in their museum. Now, who's going to interpret it? Europeans are going to interpret Native American history over 1,000 years, and what we should believe. These are the vital questions we should be asking. Whose book is it? Everyone can read the book. No one is denying anyone not being able to read the book. But the question is, whose book is it? The cradle of their civilization is there. So when we look at the Bible, when we look at that, let's think about it. Whose book is it? Everybody can read the book. Is it a book, everybody's book? The European would have us believe it's everybody's book, so it's their book, so they stole it. It is not everybody's book. It is a book written by Hebrews, written to Hebrews, written for Hebrews, written about Hebrews for the time that they live in and for the last days. So, can anyone read the book? Yes, anyone can read the Bible. Anyone can learn what a cradle of civilization came from. But who is really going to read? When we talk about, so the question is, who was the book written to? It was written to Hebrews. It was written about Hebrews. It was written for Hebrews, especially for last day events. So who should interpret the book? The Hebrews. But who interprets the book? Europeans interpret the book and tell us what to believe in the book. They are not qualified to teach it, just like the Native Americans 1,000 years ago. The Native Americans, who through their tradition, are the only ones that could truly interpret the book. The book that they had for 1,000 years. They're the only ones that can truly. Okay, so if they're the only ones that can truly interpret it, why are the Europeans interpreting it? To give his story. Not the true history, but his story. Okay, we said that we would talk a little bit about the Bible, what it's worth.